It's 1 o'clock somewhere, a fantasy football podcast. With Jarrett. And Benny. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time. It's 1 o'clock somewhere, a fantasy football podcast.
What is going on? It is 1 o'clock somewhere on a Sunday morning, bright and early here. I'm Benny, he's Jarrett, and we are excited to bring you a great show today, Jarrett. We're doing our first ever mock draft episode on It's 1 o'clock somewhere.
This time, I love a good mock draft, especially Sunday morning. Get the little springs going. We got, 2-3 weeks away till it finally starts going, and have some fun. 12-man mock draft. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're going to get into it, a 12-man mock draft. We have a couple of guests that will be assisting with us. One guest that will be on the show with us talking it through, which we will get to in just 1 second. We do have a bit of a teaser to announce. So we do have some announcements that will be coming up this next show on Tuesday. So we'll talk about that, though, on the Tuesday show. Just want to kind of put the teaser out there for people. Big news for the show coming up this Tuesday. So can't wait to talk about that then. But joining us on the show today to assist with this mock draft, coming off a crazy preseason. We had the first preseason weekend of the NFL season. We have our good friend of the show, good friend of mine, Jay Hollahan joins us from the Charm City Sports Podcast, the 610 Podcast, and, of course, the Johnny's Report. Jay, crazy weekend for you because Charm City, Baltimore, 610 Philly. You had the Eagles and the Ravens playing. The Phillies and Orioles played a few weeks ago. So kind of a meeting of the worlds for your two shows.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always nice when worlds collide. Usually it's only for the Phillies and O's, but once a weekend that happens, obviously you got to put feelings aside for one team or the other and just kind of talk about it in the most, generalized way that you can. But obviously being a big Philly guy, it, of course, kind of comes in the way of it at times. But yeah, this past weekend, preseason football is preseason football anymore. It just doesn't, no one really follows it from the starter perspective. Starters don't play, so it sucked. Couldn't see the starters for both teams go head to head, but it was what it was last night. It was nothing special. Glorified scrimmage.
Yeah, I think I think Jarrett and I are kind of in agreements with you. This part of the preseason and really the preseason in general, it used to be. I think you talked about it on your most recent show. It used to be that when the preseason happened, like starters were playing up to a quarter. I remember, I'm young enough to remember when starters would play almost like the entire first half.
Yeah.
You'd get guys out there until almost halftime.
Yeah.
And now, like you'd be lucky if you go to a preseason game and a couple of the starters are in for a drive, if not maybe even a few plays. Like it's I know they talk about it, injury risk, being rusty and all that. I don't know, what exactly is the reason why they kind of pulled off all the starters, not a single, like some teams don't even play a single starter in the preseason. And it's, like the Eagles, for example, are a great representation of that, where like you won't see a single starter play a single preseason game for the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's kind of shocking.
Yeah. It would make sense, obviously, if you're bringing back the same system, maybe 2 or 3 years in a row. But when you're going through a new system, I always think it's best to get those live game reps. And, maybe Jalen Hurts doesn't necessarily have to go, although he is the quarterback. Or like a Lane Johnson wouldn't have to play. Or a Dallas Goedert, maybe with some of the older veterans. But, it would have been nice, obviously, with the injury issues to Mekhi Lemon and Devontae Smith. Would have been nice to have seen them out there.
Would have been, but regardless, it was an interesting preseason weekend, Jarrett. I don't know if there's a ton to talk about here, but we'll of course recap the preseason as we get the graphic going here. The preseason recap from that first preseason weekend. Not a ton to talk about. I think there was a weird moment, I will say, in that Giants game where I think Jackson Dart came out with some kind of injury and then came back in through a touchdown pass. He had some interesting comments to say in the post game interview about the NFL's concussion protocol, which I just think is ironic for the Giants, who went through effectively hell last year. But did you pull away any other things that you got from this preseason? First week I didn't get a lot from it. I think that just a lot of these teams, some of them look like they play for the preseason. The other ones look like they play for week one.
No, you guys said it at the front of this. It's a shame that preseason's turned into what it's turned into. Whether it's the long season or it's old coaches saying we're playing everyone, or it's younger coaches going the analytical route saying we're not playing anyone. There's not much to see, especially when we're talking the first week of preseason. We might get a little sprinkle week 2 or week 3, but yeah, we're not getting anything crazy out of the ordinary just yet. But Ty Simpson looked good. I was excited for that. He was 21 to 23 through 250 yards, 2 tugs. I mean, in the Sean McVay offense, kind of would have hoped to see this with Ty Simpson, but it's preseason. He's going up against second and third stringers. Hope the kid keeps it up with McVay's offense. I saw my boys put BTA to the Falcons. That was fun. I watched Penix and Tua both struggle. That was a good time. Jarrett Stidham looked like an absolute dog in the preseason. Not the AFC Championship game or anything, but his first week of preseason. I think the funny one was seeing that you just said Jackson Dart. Apparently Kyler Murray had like a weird concussion scare too, and they brought him out, put him back in. They said they're not worried about a sketchy concussion. So see what that's going to be.
Yeah, we will see. You mentioned the Michael Penix and Tua thing. Again, for fantasy purposes, I think this only kind of matters for what's going to happen with the Falcons, but it looked like they were having like a weird, like Penix was looking at him like, this is the guy you wanted. This is the guy you wanted. And I just
on the sideline.
Thank God their head coach is Kevin Stefanski, because if it wasn't, I would think that entire team is just going to be a smoldering dumpster fire, a smoldering heap of just humanity. The Falcons, Atlanta. James Pierce is going to be suspended the first 8 games of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm shocked it's only 8 games. Like, I am shocked that his suspension is only 8 games and not even more. But yeah, the Falcons are a dumpster fire. I think a lot of these teams, the Browns looked horrible. But again, we expect that they're going to be probably some of the worst teams in football this year. And that sort of thing. But, we already talked about the injuries last week to Luther Burden. I'm interested to see how that will be impacted in our mock draft, which we have coming up here and momentarily. But I do want to broach this, Jay. Ravens, Eagles, you didn't really see a lot of starters for the Ravens. You didn't see a lot of starters for the Eagles. Kind of looking ahead in terms of a fantasy perspective, before we start this mock draft, what are your feelings on the Philadelphia Eagles in terms of fantasy football production? And then, of course, for the Ravens, do you think there's going to be some, kind of interesting changes to this offense from what Todd Monken was running last year? And how would that impact fantasy viewers?
Yeah, first for the Eagles, I'm curious to see what kind of a wide receiver one role Devontae Smith's going to have. Because last year, the offense was what it was, but he was very hit or miss, but it felt at times, I didn't have him in any leagues, but it felt like when I would keep up with it, felt like he was kind of hit. So I'm curious to see what kind of an impact from a fantasy standpoint he's going to have. And then obviously Saquon Barkley, I envision this to be more of a pass-happy league. Pass-happy offense with Saquon. So I think that could potentially have a huge impact for fantasy football diehards out there to see what kind of an impact Saquon could have and how high should you take him, maybe in a first round. And for the Baltimore Ravens, I'm curious if they're not going to run as many 2 tight end sets. Now, they just paid Zay Flowers all that money, so
yeah,
I envision he's going to have an even bigger impact on this offense than what Todd Monken had going. So yeah, from both sides, it's very intriguing to see, where things go. And then on the flip side, Derrick Henry, they said the other day they're not taking off his workload from the last couple of years, which was, probably like 20 to 25 touches a game.
Derrick Henry to me is like fantasy Thanos, where it's like every year people always have this. It's so bizarre, the relationship I think fantasy players have with Derrick Henry, where it's like you want to believe that this is going to be it. Like this is going to be just the end of the table. It's going to roll off the end of the table. We're done. Like the best years are behind him. But it's just like it's inevitable, man. It's inevitable that if you get Derrick Henry mid to the late part of the second round, you're going to be in a really good position for your fantasy team moving forward. And it's like, why do we keep doing this? Like, why do we keep thinking that he's just going to, this is it. This is
because eventually we're going to be right, Benny. Eventually, maybe not today. Eventually, yeah, sure. Eventually, the sun's going to burn out too. But that's not going to happen for a billion years. So why worry about something that's not going to happen for a billion years when you can just enjoy the fruits of our labor today? That's just me. I think my approach to this fantasy draft, and we'll talk about it once we start it, which will be coming up very shortly. My approach to this draft is going to be, if Derrick Henry is there in my second round, well, you'll see where I'm picking though. But if he's there for me in the middle of the second round, I am jumping for, I am like running that pick up, putting it on the board, putting that sticker right on my name as soon as I can, because I'd be elated to come away with Derrick Henry as my RB1, or you'll see my strategy momentarily, in RB2 in fantasy. I do think this is the year where you double down on your running backs. Keep going, Betty. I'm taking notes.
Oh, that's right. We have the 302 Birds draft coming up, which we will talk a little bit more about that coming up on Tuesday. All right, so let me share my screen here. We will jump over to Sleeper, and you'll for fans at home here, you're going to see us, and you're going to see the Sleeper information here coming up very shortly in this little mock draft here. Okay, so it looks like we got 4 people in this mock draft. We have myself, Benny, we have Jarrett, we of course have Jay joining us, and we have a couple of friends of Jarrett. Looks like your buddy Charlie, and then your buddy Harrison have jumped onto the draft here. So we got a good mix, 5 guys here. This is awesome. Great gentlemen joining us here. When we start this draft, the way it's going to work is 10 minutes. If we want to riff a little bit on some players that have been picked so far, we can. But without further ado, guys, I think it's time we start this mock draft here this Sunday morning. And here we go. So we are doing our first ever mock draft here for 1 o'clock somewhere. And right like that, looks like Jamar Chase goes off the board according to the computer at the 101. I think, Jarrett, you and I have talked about it. And Jarrett, you're going to get ready to pick here. So yeah, it looks like Gibbs is off, Nakua is off, and Bijan Robinson. So I wanted to put you in this position here. 2 wide receivers go, 2 running backs go. In my opinion, the players that went are like the 1AAs and the 1ABs. All 4 of them, in my opinion, are top picks possibly. So where do you go from here? You don't have Gibbs, you don't have Robinson, you don't have Puka, you don't even have Jamar Chase to pick. Jarrett, where would you go here?
Truthfully, at the 1-5, I'm hoping one of those 4 make it to me. I'm hoping that someone is a Seahawk fan, or someone really just has an inkling on Amon-Ra or Jonathan Taylor, whatever push comes to shove. But I was praying that one of them were going to find their way back to me. I understand Puka in his whole situation. That's not scaring me off of him just yet. He'll lock it back in. But, and not lock it back in. Injury concern, Sean said he wasn't too worried on, so I will still be drafting Puka if he was there. But I mean, for me, we're in a 12-man, PPR. I'm going to take the most lethal weapon in fantasy football the last couple of years. I'm not, scared money doesn't make money. I'm going to keep smashing the pick for Christian McCaffrey. As you were talking about with Derrick Henry, you don't really understand why people want to keep playing the game and keep going, oh, this is the year. Like this is when I'm done with Derrick Henry. I do the same thing with Christian. I'm going to keep taking him. I'm going to keep smashing that button over and over again until literally the wheels fall off.
I concur. Christian McCaffrey to me is, again, when people want to talk about the injuries, if you draft thinking this player is going to get hurt, if you draft thinking like, oh, well, I'm not going to take this guy because there's a chance he could get hurt, then you're not going to draft a single player because everyone's going to get hurt.
Right.
That's just that. McCaffrey goes, Jonathan Taylor goes. Then we have a run on receivers with Jay taking CeeDee Lamb. So Jackson Smith and Njigba drops all the way to the 7th spot. CeeDee goes 8, Jefferson 9, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown goes 10. Jay, CeeDee Lamb for your wide receiver pick here. Is it a preference of him over Justin Jefferson? Amon-Ra's there too. I feel like Amon-Ra is pretty consistent. CeeDee Lamb, after what happened last year, that didn't scare you at all.
No, I mean, I've personally, I wanted JSN, and then I was eyeing down CD in case he fell to me. But Justin Jefferson, I don't trust the quarterback scenario there. Amon-Ra, the Detroit offense is in like kind of a weird limbo off of last year. So I just kind of went with the safe bet with CeeDee Lamb. Now there is George Pickens there that could obviously hold into put CeeDee Lamb into an interesting spot, but I don't know. I feel like CeeDee Lamb's always capable to give you like a cool 15 points just falling out of bed. So that's why I went with him with the 8 with the 8th pick.
The 8th pick. I will say this. I'm not completely out on CeeDee. I think if CeeDee gets to this part of the draft and you want to go receiver in the first round, I think that's a great position to put yourself in. CeeDee, Jefferson, Amon-Ra, I don't think you really can go wrong in approach with any of those players. What I will say is last year when CeeDee was playing and Pickens were playing early in the part of that season for Dallas, George Pickens was not the wide receiver. What was he? Wide receiver 5 or 6 that he finished in I think he was even higher than that. Mm-hmm. He was a far cry from that. So I think that at the end of the day, Dallas is always going to prioritize CeeDee Lamb. People can get a little scared about what happened last year where CeeDee Lamb got hurt, and then it looked like very much the offense pivoted towards George Pickens. George Pickens is in the middle of a contract dispute right now. So what's that going to do? And we all know how Dallas likes their fireworks in the form of contractual issues right there. So an interesting approach there for Jay. No one's going to like what I do, but I am going to go and pick my running back here. I am in love with this running back. I've wanted him for fantasy for quite some time. I've never quite gotten him, but I've always kept my eye on him. And I really like James Cook. I think James Cook is in line to have a monster season for fantasy. Joe Brady is the offensive coordinator for the Bills. I think the Bills, DJ Moore doesn't scare me. He more looks to me as a vertical threat. I think James Cook is going to be heavily utilized in the screen game, in the running game, obviously. I don't think they want Josh Allen running as much as he does historically. I think James Cook is going to have a monster year. And this next running back is another one that I'm absolutely in love with. I've talked about it. I said, if you get to this position in fantasy drafts, I want 2 of these 6 running backs. And I'm going to get one of these running backs, and that is Ashton Genty from the Las Vegas Raiders. I love what the Raiders did this offseason. You have the rookie quarterback that'll probably play about half the season. And they went out, they picked up, I know Jay can talk about this, they picked up a really good center from the Baltimore Ravens in Linderbaum. So to me, I'm expecting a more improved running game. Even with as bad as the offensive line was last year, Ashton Genty was still a very good running back. And when they go to put that rookie quarterback in, they don't have wide receivers really to throw to. They have Brock Bowers, and that's it. So to me, Ashton Genty is going to get plenty of pass game work. The running game is going to be improved, and they're going to utilize him because who else are you going to turn to in that offense when you have a rookie quarterback playing?
Brock Bowers.
So
no, I'm kidding. I love that pick. And you bring in Elton Jenkins too from Green Bay. You slide him in at guard. The offensive line does look a lot better overnight, just in a couple free agency additions.
Can't be worse.
Genty, sky's the absolute limit when I was watching him prospect-wise. This is just a matter of will the Raiders be in a situation to? And I think if anything, he's going to catch probably, 30, 40 passes maybe?
Yeah, I would go even higher than that, I think. I think the Raiders are going to be just checking it down. They're just going to be looking to have a very efficient offense. I have a note about it, and we can talk about later, but when you saw those first years of Tom Brady wasn't throwing the ball down the field. Tom Brady was checking it down, hitting the mid-range, games in terms of the passing. That's what you saw a lot there. So I think the Raiders will kind of implement that a little bit with Fernando Mendoza if inevitably he does play later in the year. If not, Kirk Cousins supported running backs before for fantasy, so I'm not scared whatsoever. Coming back through here, we have one team doubling down on receivers. That's one of the computer-led teams here. But Jay getting Amarian Hampton who again, Amarian Hampton is one of my six. I love Amarian Hampton. I'm not scared to draft him. I'm not scared of what happened last year. I think the sky's the limit for him. In the Mike McDaniel offense of the LA Chargers, Amarian Hampton to me is the belle of the ball. He is such a great looking running back for the Chargers.
Yeah, it really is. And plus, I know they've been kind of a run-heavy system the last couple of years, but also with Jim Harbaugh, I mean, they're always going to implement the running backs into the passing game. And Amarian Hampton's, I think, like could be a future kind of James Cook. I personally have had James Cook twice, and I've won fantasy in the same league back-to-back years because of James Cook. So I think Hampton has that ability to be like him.
I agree. I'm excited to see what happens there. I'm excited to see what happens with Ken Walker. Again, the second round for running backs, there's just so many of them here to go through. Devon Achane. We saw Chase Brown go. It literally is like the six running backs I like. They're pretty much all taken up here. Trey McBride going does give you a chance here, Jarrett, to maybe grab a wide receiver if you want to pair, your Christian McCaffrey pick with another receiver, or my sixth and final running back that I really like is still on the board.
Yeah, I'd love to take. Trying to remember who your sixth running back. Oh, I could take your boy. I could take the king. I could go down that rabbit hole.
Take the king,
but just not yet for me. I mean, I go Christian round one. Coming back round two. I let the board play it. Rounds 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't fight much. I'm not gonna necessarily go quarterback early. I mean, I would love the idea of maybe going Bowers here, just in a 12-man to have that ability over everyone else. But for me, I'm taking who I have right now as a top 10 receiver. He's my wide receiver 7 right now. I think he's just going to get a boatload of targets. I mean, what I'm projecting probably won't come out to fortune, but with what he had last year, I think this is an Avenger-level threat for this offense, and I'm beyond excited. Okay, that was supposed to be cool. A.J. Brown. I'm just excited for what that offense is going to be with him, how they're going to actually move around him. And I'm not scared of what Drake May just said, saying that, I hope his best attribute is he wants to win. I don't care to feed my receiver, or whatever the exact quote was. I'm paraphrasing, but Drake May was alluding to the fact that he's not going to feed him the ball all the time. Yes, he will. He doesn't have a choice.
Yeah. So you're not going to throw to Kayshawn Booty. You're not going to throw to what is it, Pop Douglas? Pop Douglas sounds like a player that played in the 1930s. Like when you watch the old NFL films footage, like, oh, Pop Douglas flat out into the route. That's
pop
what
out to the side.
Pop out to the side. There comes Pop Douglas. Like that, Pop Douglas sounds like he's 104 years old, and he's back from the AFL days. Oh, look at wow. That's so unbelievable. So both of the elite tight ends are off the board. We get back to 3. It looks like Josh Allen went. I'm devastated that Jeremiah Love went above Derrick Henry. I am devastated that happened. Derrick Henry going at the end of the second round. If you are in a fantasy draft and you can get Derrick Henry with the 12th pick in the second round, I would run that to the board every time. Really, after like pick 5 and on, Derrick Henry to me is very much in that range. For him to go there is pretty surprising. Kyron Williams goes off. That's a little painful, but if you wanted to get a good RB2, good consistent RB2, the Rams are going to, I guess, run him into the ground. Jacobs going off for the Packers. Some off the field stuff, but it looks like that's going to get clear. But okay, Jarrett, you sit in a very interesting spot. A lot of big receivers on the board. You have Malik Neighbors, you have George Pickens, you have Rashid Rice. If you want to go down further, you have Lamar Jackson at quarterback, you have Breece Hall at running back. But I kind of think this kind of sets up, at least to me, as a very difficult pick for you, Jarrett. Where do you go here?
No, it is. My eyes immediately go to the guy we were talking about earlier with George Pickens. I've been more than step with Malik Neighbors. I think the knee's fine. He looks a lot better. I'm just going to let the actual week by weeks dictate when I'm going to take him. It's a mock. I'd love to take him, but I'm just worried about Malik Neighbors. But my heart knows what my heart wants. And I think Rashid Rice, with what he's able to do when he's fully healthy and he's actually on the field for this offense, coming back from injury, kind of like the same thing we were talking about with A.J. Brown. Who else is there going to get the ball? I mean, I understand Xavier Worthy, and they do that whole offense, but Rashee Rice, when he's on the field, we see the monster that he was, and that 4-week stretch 2 years ago still lives rent-free in my head. And you're telling me the cat's active, he's healthy, I'm taking him.
Rashee Rice goes, T. Higgins, George Pickens, then go to your friend Harrison. And toxic Philly fan, Jay Hallahan, Breece Hall. The Jets don't scare you completely, Jay. I mean, to me, like, that's a team I'm terrified to see what happens with them.
I was sitting here debating RB2. I was scrolling through, and I was thinking, do I go wide receiver? I was like, you know what? I want to lock up my running back tandem now because, God forbid, you get into a situation where you're just left with scraps. And I didn't want to be left with scraps. I wanted to go with possibly a player who could break out for a team that doesn't have a quarterback and they'll need to run the ball. And that's the New York Jets. Because God forbid, Geno Smith is going to be asked to throw the ball like 30, 35 times a game. Just not going to happen. And if he does, he'll be checking it down to Breece Hall a shit ton because aside from there's that kid they drafted out of Indiana, but really aside from Garrett Wilson, there's no ready NFL talent on that team. So I decided this would be the time for Breece Hall to come off the board. Plus, he just got that contract extension. So
that's a good point. I kind of am lock in step with you. The Jets are a team where, like, you have Garrett Wilson. I'm not really, I just think the Jets this year, they're not going to be a fun, if you're sitting there on Sunday night or Monday night and it's a Jets game and you have to eke out some points and you're relying on Breece Hall or Garrett Wilson to get it done, I'd be a little nervous at that point. If you're like, oh my God, I need like a 10-point game from Breece Hall and they're playing the Patriots, like you'd be a little nervous there. That being said, I think the approach you have to take to the Jets is somebody's got to do something on this team. I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be Omar Cooper. I don't think it's going to be they drafted Kenyon Sadiq. It's not going to be Kenyon Sadiq. I think inevitably it's going to be either Breece Hall or Garrett Wilson, to which, I don't think Geno's going to be slinging the ball around constantly. I just don't think the Jets are built for that. I think they're a better team than what they have, what people are going to think they are. But I just, it's not going to be a fun watch. It's not going to be a fun, strain to have to deal with that.
Yeah, dude, greasing Jarrett and clock out. That's it.
There you go. I have the next two picks here at the back end of the third and the beginning of the fourth, and I'm I went back-to-back running back, so I kind of have my RB1, my RB2 set with Ashton Genty and James Cook. I could go another running back here with Javonte Williams and have like a 3 running back head, but I kind of, I think inevitably people are going to know this is where you go wide receiver. I am over the moon about Devontae Smith for the Philadelphia Eagles this year. I think he's just going to have a fantastic year. He's the wide receiver one. I think the routes. Well, no, to be honest with you, this is the first time I'm a little bit of a homer, but at the same time, this is the first time I've ever had an Eagle on my fantasy team. I've never been able to. People always grab them early. People always, snipe them before I can. I think this is the year where Devontae's here at the back end of the third round, even early fourth. I'm over the moon for Devontae Smith and what he can do in this offense. And I'm going to take this player. And I'm looking at some other players that are on the board here, and I'm like, maybe I should not do this, but I'm gonna take Malik Neighbors, and here's why. I know it's a great pick, but the injury stuff has scared me all off season. It's been like the big anxiety thing for me with Malik Neighbors, where it's like you see him limping, you hear about the knee injury, you hear about the cleanup, and you're like, oh my God, is he even going to play? What is it going to look like? I'm just going to take him because if he does play, he's and theoretically, looking at the way this draft has fallen, he's my wide receiver too. I'll take a 50-50 wide receiver too. If, in a draft where wide receivers are pretty deep position, I'll take a 50-50 wide receiver too and just kind of play my hand at, figuring out how to flex or do that. I just think when he does play, that's all they really have on that offense outside of Jackson Dart. Like, I think that is like, take Malik Neighbors off the field. Are you excited about 87-year-old Braxton Berrios? Are you excited about Smith-Schuster? Juju, the oldest 29-year-old in the history of the NFL? Are you excited about Odell Beckham Jr. in the year of our Lord 2026? I'm not. Darius Slayton? No, none of that. So Giants have to do something here.
Yeah, I'd smash pick. As long as he's healthy, he's on the field. I mean, Malik Neighbors absolutely has the ability to finish as wide receiver 1. So at round 4, the value, to say the least.
Very much so. That started a bit of a run on receivers. As a matter of fact, 3 of the next 4 picks are receivers, crescendoing with Jay taking Emeka Egbuka, which another receiver I was looking at, Jay. So I think he's going to have a great year. Coming back to it, Cam Scatabo. So we get another Giant off the board. Jarrett, Travis Etienne, or Travis Etienne, the player formerly known as Travis Etienne, now Travis Etienne. Mm-hmm. The Saints having Kamara still in the building doesn't scare you off him at all?
No. There's been a couple of reports, him saying that, he's okay with the lesser role. He kind of understands like the writing is on the wall here. And just Kellen Moore in general, I don't think he's going to be the type of coach to sit here and play games around it. I brought him in for a reason, right? Like he's sitting there looking at Alvin Kamara. Kamara's 32. This shouldn't necessarily be a 1A, 1B situation. Kamara could be sprinkled in. Sure. Is it going to make life for ETN a little on A-chain? Maybe he gets, 35 instead of 45 catches. Maybe it's a 45 instead of a 55 gap. I mean, but for me, ultimately, I think that he is going to be outside of Chris Olave, like we were talking about with the Jets. It's going to be a 2-man show. Jordan Tyson's already dealing with a weird injury, but I think they spent the money on A-chain for a reason. I'm a big advocate for, free agency in the money or just in general players on same teams getting a lot of money. You can't go wrong when you pick the money side of it. That just shows you where the general manager and the coaches actually believe, and they have to give them the ball at that point. I'm in a little bit of a pendulum with this one.
Yeah.
I was hoping Warren or Loveland fell back to me.
I was going to say, so 2 tight ends come off the board. Kyle Managai as well, who I'm a big – or no, I'm sorry, that's David Montgomery, not Kyle Managai. David Montgomery goes off the board. You passed up on your boy Jalen Waddle, which I was a little surprised about. I will say this, though. Coming back to you, run on receivers. So you have McLaurin go off. I think I'm good with the injuries that are happening in Washington. I think I'm good kind of pushing McLaurin off my guy list to, hey, if he's there, you take him. If not, whatever. Devontae Adams missing on him can possibly hurt you if you were looking to load up on receiver. But there is, I think you get to the kind of the lower next tier of running backs where you have Travion Henderson, you have Bashal Tutin. You could go quarterback with Joe Burrow, or Luther Burden's sitting right there. And I know there's the groin injury. He's not going to play until week 1, but people are and I think it's week we can all kind of talk about this. It's alarming how high people are on Luther Burden right now. It is like I know people saw kind of the back end of last year, but I wouldn't be comfortable with taking him earlier than this round. People have taken him all the way up to the 3rd round. And I'm like, whoa, that's too early for me.
No, the second DJ Moore got out of Dodge, all the Luther Burden truthers came out of nowhere. Oh, it's his time. He's coming. We saw the glimpses. It's great. But I mean, for me, the receiver that's still there is the one. I really wanted to take him. That would have been really good, but I can't. I am going to take, talking about Chicago as much as we are, for what the receiving court could be. Loveland, I think, might just dominate in general when it comes to total targets, but someone I'm not worried about in that offense at all. We know what Brian Johnson's all about. We saw what he was for the entire stretch of last year. He was the RB14. Steady Eddie. It's a 12-man league. I want to get my vanilla when I have to, and the running backs after that fall off a cliff. So I'll load up with 3 running backs in the first 5 rounds.
You don't like Quinshon Judkins at all? I guess because the Browns are just going to be so bad.
I do, but to the same extent that you like Brees. It's like it's a nasty offense, but it's like he's the talent's there. Quinshon Judkins is an absolute freak.
Speaking of which,
for me, if I look at any offense and I'm like, I want to stay away, it's Cleveland.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Judkins goes. This seems kind of like the Bears area.
That's his dynasty team talking.
It seems like the Bears area. Loveland, Swift, Burden, all kind of going within, a 7-pick range right here. And, Judkins going. I'm comfortable taking Judkins. I think this is the spot where you do it if he's your running back 3, if he's your running back 2, or if you, and I've tried some drafts, I've mocked some 0 RB drafts where I just don't address running back until I get to the 5th or 6th round. If he's your running back 1, that's where I'm very nervous. But running back 3, I think you can get away with that and kind of live to see it. All right, let's see what Jay does here, because Jay's kind of in a weird spot. If Joe Burrow is the quarterback, you have DJ Moore, you have Jamison Williams, and you have Travion Henderson. This kind of seems like an area where a lot of risk, is kind of implied, even with Bashal Tutin, where I like Bashal Tutin. I think Bashal Tutin is going to be great in that Jags offense. You just haven't seen it before. I think DJ Moore is going to be great for the Bills. You just haven't seen it on the Buffalo Bills before. New player coming into a new place. Travion Henderson, you've seen some sparks, but you haven't seen it consistent. And Ramondre Stevenson is still there, and it seems like that's still going to be a timeshare. Does Jay kind of lean towards quarterback or Jamison Williams, who another player where you've seen flashes, but you've also seen weekends where he gives you 0 points and you just kind of, you hate yourself a little bit.
I always think that the 5th round is about the time when you want to address quarterback, but because there's still a lot there, I don't think I'm going to at this very moment. Running back, though, especially to lock in that flex spot, is very enticing, but again, Travion Henderson plus Ramondre Stevenson, I don't love. I'm going to take a total shot in the dark and go with DJ Moore because the Bills did trade for him, and I'm going to just bank on the fact that he'll be a very productive flex player.
Interesting. Yeah, I think we've seen it historically. DJ Moore, great vertical threat. I think he fits very well with what Buffalo wants to do. That being said, I always take a little bit of I take a little bit of a step back when it comes to players going into new teams, and especially when it comes to receivers, because sometimes it takes a little bit to build that chemistry with their quarterback. That being said, I think Buffalo is really going to use DJ Moore to stretch the field. So I think you're going to get I don't think you're going to get a lot of catches. I do think you're going to get a lot of yards and touchdowns. And I think that's going to be where DJ Moore will make his money. I do think that also sets up for, he might have a couple weeks where there's 2 or 3 catches for, 30 yards, and you just have to deal with that. But if he's hitting pay dirt, I think DJ Moore is going to be an excellent add to any fantasy team. All right, so this is an interesting spot for me. I could go quarterback with looks like Jaden Daniels is right there. I'm just not a big fan of what's going on in Washington right now. Jalen Hurts, I do like Jalen Hurts, but I'm gonna test something here where I'm gonna try to wait a little bit longer for quarterback and see how that shakes out for me, and just see what happens here. I will say this: if you're in a position. First, I'm going to take the one player I really like, and that is going to be Sam Laporta at tight end. I think Sam Laporta at tight end. I think, he's just too talented for Detroit to completely phase out of their offense. I think he's going to do well. And again, I think you get to this point in the draft where you're like, man, would you rather have Sam Laporta or Jaden Daniels? And then you start thinking about all the things that are going on with Jaden Daniels, and you're like, I'm going to go with Sam Laporta. If Detroit's in a situation where they have to check it down a lot, it's going to be Gibbs, and I think Laporta too will get a lot of catches there. And plus, they create touches for him. The next player that I'm intrigued by is Bashal Tutin. If I can have Bashal Tutin as my RB3, I think that kind of exonerates a lot of the risk there with him. Where there's a reality where Bashal Tutin is not the RB1 in Jacksonville, and Chris Rodriguez is the one getting a lot of the goal line play. I don't think that's going to happen. But that being said, Bashal Tutin is my RB3.
Why did you set it up like that? Poor Chris Rodriguez. I don't think it's going to happen like that.
Well, there's just what I'm saying is if Bashal Tutin comes out week 1, I think that could happen like week 3. But if Bashal Tutin comes out week 1 and fumbles twice,
all right,
and then week 2 he just looks like he's running in mud, and week 3 he fumbles again, I think there's a reality where week 4 Chris Rodriguez is a starting running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars. That being said, Bashal Tutin would have to look like complete and utter garbage for that to happen. And I just don't think that's going to happen. I think Bashal Tutin, I want a piece of the Jacksonville offense. And I think Bashal Tutin's a pretty safe, slice to take.
Fair.
All right, after that pick, another tight end goes off the board. I'm good with Tucker Kraft. I'm very good with guys come back from knee injuries, skipping right over them. I'm not taking that risk anymore. And it looks like 2 receivers go off. Interesting third round because you only saw 3 running backs. Or I'm sorry, interesting previous round. You only saw 3 running backs come off: Swift, Judkins, and then you saw Henderson go off. And it looks like we're kind of in line for that this time. It looks like a running back just went off here, and it is Jadeveon Price. Okay. So I think we can finally start to have this conversation. Jay, what bought you in on Jadeveon Price?
It was whether or not, honestly, it came down to Zach Charbonnet or Price. And I said, you know what? What are the odds that the Seahawks are actually going to split that up between the two of them, and Price is just going to be not factored into this offense? Let me put it that way. And I said, there's just no way that they take him as high as they did, and he's not going to be factored into taking the lion's share of the carries, goal line touchdowns, and things of that nature. What does scare me is how pass happy that Seahawks offense is. That's what would scare me ultimately. But to have him as a backup or potential flex guy, I'll do it. I'll take that risk.
Yeah, I see your approach there. I think Seattle, you'll see Seattle have to throw a little bit more just because of how depleted their defense is. I don't want to say that in the sense of like their defense is garbage. It's not. They're still very good defense, but they lost some pieces. They lost Tyreek Woolen. They lost a couple of defensive line pieces, and really, with every Super Bowl team, players get picked apart. Your coordinators kind of get picked apart too, and I think you're going to see a different Seahawks team. That being said, and I think we can kind of talk about this right here. And Jarrett, if you want to, I think Jarrett, you disagree in a sense, but
what?
Jadeveon Price is
I'm
the
giving
running
a
back
face because I don't like who I'm about to pick right now. None of it was anything we were saying.
You're good. What I'm saying is I think Jadeveon Price is the rookie running back to have this year. I don't like where Jeremiah Love is going in drafts. Actually, to be honest with you, I don't like the situation in Arizona at all, where Tyler Allgeier's there. James Conner is still there. That offense is going to be horrible. Like, God forbid they have to bench Jacoby Brissett for Carson Beck. And all of a sudden now you're wondering, like, can this offense do anything? Now I know Carson Beck looked okay in the Hall of Fame game. That's the Hall of Fame game. But, like, I never thought that I'd say that sentence. God forbid Jacoby Brissett gets benched. But, like, I mean, God forbid for Arizona that Jacoby Brissett gets benched, because I think that's the last kind of pin holding what could be this offense from being completely unplayable. And then if you take Jeremiah Love in the second round, you're going to be like, man, I took a rookie running back in the second round in an offense that's terrible, that can't do anything. That's too much draft capital. That's your RB1 that's going to be getting nothing or touchdown vultured by Tyler Allgeier whenever those touchdowns happen. You're buying a slice of a pie that's really small as it is. And I would rather just wait a little bit and get Price, where I think there's a cleaner path here for Price to be a really impactful rookie than there is for Jeremiah Love at the current state. The Cardinals just look so bad to me.
No, I agree. And people may find that to be ludicrous when you're talking about the 4th pick instead of the 32nd pick, but it's situation based. 32nd pick just won the Super Bowl. The 4th team's the 4th team picking for a reason. I don't disagree with anything you just said. Don't even forget Trey Benson, the running back that they took 2 years ago in the second round. So it's like their running back room is way.
What happened to him? Did
he
they just
like the
is
third.
he yeah. Is he still alive? Is he breathing? Like, where's Trey Benson?
I'm right there with you. It's a nasty, nasty running back room, the one to decipher between. He's the most talented. That I don't think we question even a little bit.
No.
But it's the matter of when it comes down to actually looking at the pie chart, it could be a lot. I love Jadeveon Price. I was debating with him and Swift, but I just for mock purposes, it's the beginning. It's mid-August. I'll get there in a week. We'll start being fun with rookies. Yeah. But
yeah, we'll be there soon. I like it. I think that for Jay's team right here, that's a good pick. back-to-back quarterbacks go off, which is alarming.
I'm
surprised Daniels hasn't fallen a little bit more with the left tackle being out now. And you know, you saw what happened last year. It sputtered and crashed. And not that I think what I want to say is this. I think Jaden Daniels is still a very good quarterback. You know, if you wear his jersey now, you can get sued, which I don't think is great. But I think he's still a very good quarterback. That being said, the situation just has me going like, I'm good. You know, they're going to have to reshuffle that offensive line. I think you're going to see a lot of check down stuff, and I don't think you're going to see a lot of deep touchdowns. I don't think you're going to see a lot of good rushing from him, or maybe you will, but I just not digging what's going on in Washington right now. 3 straight receivers. Wow. Marvin Harrison.
I had to. I wanted to do this for the people, and I wanted to give people a legitimate. Just think about it for a second, right? It's literally the exact same conversation we were having with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. Sure, George is talented in his own right, but if you play the game and you really just like forget that CeeDee Lamb wasn't healthy and he was coming back and battling injury all year long, you just watch CeeDee tell that CeeDee isn't CeeDee. Marvin Harrison wasn't healthy and was dealing with the exact same offense that Michael Wilson was in. Sure, Michael Wilson's there and he's a very talented receiver. But if Marvin is there, the guy that they took in the first round, they're not just going to forget about Marvin Harrison, the draft capital, and what they've invested into him and what he should be for this offense. You got to throw everything that you've learned about Marvin Harrison. You got to dump it deep down. And we're talking round 6. You know, I really wanted Jalen Hurts or Jaden Daniels, but as my third receiver, I remember the boom games too much, especially that week 1 lives rent-free in my head, his rookie year, him just going up and lossing 2 kids in the back of the corner. I still think the talent's there. I understand the highlight reel of him dropping a bunch of passes is viral, and we all like to have fun with Marvin Harrison, but there's too much here. And when we're talking DK Metcalf, Brian Thomas, just situationally with who I'm going to draft, give me Marvin Harrison as my third in round 6.
I think the approach has to be someone has to do something there. You lost out on Jackson Dart. You lost out on Caleb Williams. It just seems like this is the spot in the draft, the 5th pick, where this is going to be tough. Like, this is going to be a tough spot to have. You're going to get sniped on a lot. You got sniped earlier on tight ends, but I do like that you came away with Marvin Harrison. I think, again, somebody in that offense has to do something. Why not him? You know,
right.
And last year, before he got hurt, he was trending on having a pretty solid fantasy season. I think this isn't the year, but the year the Cardinals get a quarterback, I think that's when you'll see some things change for Marvin Harrison Jr. It's just unfortunate that this year the quarterback's going to be a combination of Jacoby Brissett, who I think is
I'm doing it.
Harold. It was that Harold Fannin.
Someone's got to catch passes over there. I mean, why?
I think that's fine. I think as a tight end, that's fine. I think he's a good tight end. I think he's a good tight end. You know, that's a good section. If you're gonna take a piece of the Browns offense, take the most talented player, and I think it's Harold Fannin.
Joku's still there. I'm probably not doing this, but yeah, he's gone. Probably their best receiving weapon. Yeah, I'll take Fannin. They're gonna be down as much as they're gonna be down all year.
Good little. You're salvaging this, and it looks like you might be taking my strategy of let's just wait on quarterback a little bit and see what happens.
No need.
Yeah. I think waiting on quarterback, would it be nice to have Caleb Williams? Would it be nice to have Jalen Hurts? It totally would. Dak Prescott was another. I like Dak Prescott a lot, Jay, but I think I would like Dak Prescott more 1 round later if I could have had him, but he went there. But it's just like waiting on quarterback just kind of makes me a little more confident in my rosters.
Yeah, I was waiting or hoping, let me put it that way, that Jalen Hurts would fall or Caleb Williams was going to just hang around for a couple more picks, but he wasn't. And I have to have 2 Cowboys players on my team. So if this was my actual fantasy team, I'd be scooping my eyeballs out every week.
Forgot you built the Prescott Lamb stack.
Yeah, my name is Toxic Philly Fan.
I did. Team 10.
What is happening?
Whoa!
What is?
All right.
Going on here?
I just want to say I'm not controlling Team 10. I'm not assigning them picks. I will say this: this is good practice and good. I wasn't
thinking about it till you said it.
This is good practice for your normal drafts, where like someone's going to do some crazy stuff in your draft, And Team 10 is the guy in your office that is just, well, it's the Rams defense. I'm just going to take them. Oh, well, it's Tucker Kraft. I like the Packers. Oh, Joe Burrow. I see that guy all the time. Like, Team 10 right now is picking based on, like, I remember when Bucky Irving was good. Like, it's just this is just the ultimate, like,
I was told
I know
to
that
draft
player.
Chase Brown.
Yeah, Zay Flowers just signed that big contract. He's got to be great, And it's just, this is just the ultimate, like, what the hell is going on with Team 10? But anyway, stacks really quick. I think the Dak Lamb stack is one of the low key, like, top 2 stacks in fantasy this year, just because Dak's going to sling it, and even if Lamb's not giving you great fantasy production, Pickens will, Ferguson will. They're not going to stop throwing the ball. They can't run the ball. Their defense is not good. Like, Dak is going to get 40 attempts a game. And I think there's a reality where he finishes this year as, like, the top passing quarterback in the league. All right, let's get things moving here. Pilots goes a little frustrating there. I'm in a weird spot. Jarrett, love you. Don't love Cortland Sutton. I know you're a Broncos fan. I'm not a big fan of Cortland Sutton. I don't want Ramondre Stevenson. I already have 3 running backs. I think I'm going to wait until I get my 4th. I don't want Michael Wilson. Gosh. A lot of running backs here that I like, but I don't necessarily need them.
Yeah, this is no man's
Oh my
gosh.
land.
Now we're at a point where take, feelings and anything report wise that you've conjured up in the last week, 2 weeks, and run.
Maybe I understand why Team 10 took a defense. Okay.
It wasn't a scramble pick. It was the best on the board.
Yeah, I'll go with Justin Herbert. I think having him there as a quarterback is great. Let me see. Is there a wide receiver at all that I like? Don't like Cortland Sutton. Don't like Michael Wilson. I want nothing to do with Chris Godwin. Having to watch another Chris Godwin injury might make me want to.
If you knew he was
jump
back,
off a bridge,
back with that, like if you knew he was back week 1 and he was good to go,
like all the way, like
all
we're gonna get
no restrictions week 1, because that's what I'm waiting on. I'm waiting to see if we're gonna get any.
Maybe
he's gonna settle back, or this is Igbuka's offense.
I think what scares me about Chris Godwin is this: Igbuka is the wide receiver 1 there, and from the reports I'm hearing, they're going to run a lot more 12 personnel. So you're going to see more two tight end sets or just 2 receivers, which is you want that. I mean, you want a situation where there's only 2 receivers on the field. That being said, I'm not even sure he's the 3rd weapon anymore, because I think they went out and they got Kenny Gainwell. I think the priority is going to be Igbuka, run the ball, then Godwin. And that I don't think that's a flex. I think that's like a guy you have to start every, once in a while if you have a bad matchup. So to me, if I'm looking right in this range, I'm looking for a guy that I can comfortably say, okay, if that's the flex I have, or if that's a guy I have to go with in a flex situation, I'm fine with that. And you know what? I'm just going to do it. I like the situation. I think their offense is going to be better. I'm going to aim small, miss small on the Titans and go with Tony Pollard. Somebody's got to do something. I don't think they can be as bad as they were last year. I think they're going to be a little bit better. And Tony Pollard is my running back 4. Okay. If a running back in my flex, I'm comfortable with, but that felt dirty. I need a shower.
Oh, Team 6. What was that? He was so far down. Well,
both Bronco running backs.
That's insane. He said, I got to make sure I have one of them. Oh.
Both Bronco running. Well, you can have a 3rd. There is a 3rd out there that I think is the running back to have. Well, you can see if that gets to you. But Dobbins and Harvey as your running backs. Ew.
Yeah, it's definitely not sexy by any stretch, but at least you're gonna have one of them back there. You're alluding to Jonah Coleman. That's maybe. I'm not gonna be shocked if this is JK's offense, but I mean, we play the game with him every year. When is he not gonna get hurt? I understand. I know I was talking Chris Godwin up, but I don't really want to do that.
And you're seeing you again when it's your time to spin the revolver and play Russian roulette, and it comes to Chris Godwin, you're a little hesitant to pull the trigger.
Right? It's like I'll give the advice, but I don't.
Ooh,
Um,
ooh.
I'm gonna take an interesting one because it's not necessarily like a oh my god, it's a terrible pick. I just can't believe he's still kind of flirting down here around 8. I said it earlier. I'll say it again. I'll keep saying it the entirety of the show. If you get paid, follow the money, and Alec Pierce got exactly that. I may not believe in the entire talent of him as a receiver, being a 1 in the NFL, but that's besides itself. The Colts have exactly said how much they believe in him. You let go of Michael Pittman, you give him an absolute bag, top 10 highest paid receiver in the NFL. And yeah, what the quarterback's coming back, DJ, we're hopefully that he can get upright and everything for the Colts should be A-OK. But, Alec Pierce, money man walking round 8, my 4th receiver. I'm not really going to hate that pick.
I also think it's a smart because you're aligned with me right now in waiting on quarterback. I think this is a smart pick for you because a quarterback is going to get back to you. I mean, the 4 teams that are picking after you, they've all taken their quarterback. So now you can take I think if he's Trevor Lawrence got drafted, but like you can take a quarterback now if you wanted to and not have to wait, or you could wait a little bit longer. I think that was a smart pick. Alec Pierce, to me, they paid him. They got rid of Michael Pittman. Josh Downs is still there, but I don't think Downs is going to eat into enough of the target share there for him to not to be impactful fantasy wise. It's a good pick. I just think that you want a little piece. These are offenses where you just want a little piece of them, and I think the Colts offense is one where you just want a little piece of them right now.
I'm gonna make a bit of a pulverizing one. He's gonna be my running back 4. I love these guys late. That's exactly why I was honing in on J.K. Dobbins, who I think is the one. And in this, he's got Rashad White to deal with. But give me Bill. All jokes aside, all puns pushed to the table. He's the one in Washington. I'm expecting more workload. This Washington offense is screaming for an identity. Maybe it's Bill. Maybe it's just Jaden Daniels. Regardless, he's an RB1 in round 9. I'm not thinking twice about it.
Hey, I was going to say the same thing. This late in the draft to get an RB1, and it's not like a situation where like Rashad White. It's not like Rashad White's going to walk through that door and just be immediately like the best running back that they had. No, there's no way. I just don't vibe to that at all. I think Washington is going to go with McCroskey Merritt. They've already talked about Katron Allen being the 3rd running back. There's even talks of him not really factoring in that much. To me, it's Merritt, and you just kind of take that pick and roll with it. Jay goes with Dallas Goedert, or not, sorry. Jay goes with Michael Pittman. So we were just kind of talked about the Colts getting rid of Michael Pittman. Jay takes him right there. He's in Pittsburgh now. I don't really know what you're going to get with the Steelers this year, but Pittman as a wide receiver 2 in Pittsburgh, take a shot. Why not? You're kind of getting late into drafts and just see what happens. All right, here. Let's see what we have to work with in this realm. As soon as I flipped open this thing and I see Patrick Mahomes sitting right there, it's just interesting to me. All these other quarterbacks have gone off the board. I think now effectively, we have I think more than, I took a lot for putting him at 19th, but I also think a lot of people are starting to see what I see, which is a quarterback coming back from a knee injury. And you're just kind of questioning what that offense is going to look like because they invested so much in Ken Walker. If it's a run-first offense and the quarterback's coming back from a knee injury, you're not going to get the passing upside that you used to get. You're not going to get the rushing upside because he's probably not going to look that good. I'd rather just, take my chances elsewhere. All right. Let's see what we got here. Okay. My guy immediately. Love Josh Downs. Love seeing what I'm seeing there. I need a wide receiver 3. Josh Downs is a wide receiver where I'm very comfortable putting him in a flex, especially this late in drafts. And I'm going to double down on receiver because I really haven't had too many receivers to grab. And I'm going to go with Wan'Dale Robinson. So we're just going to keep waiting on quarterback. And now I have 4 receivers and 4 running backs. And I just give me the depth. Give me the depth. I can use some of these players in trades. I can, when it comes time late into years where you're looking to make deals, I'll have a war chest of receivers to work with. I'll have a war chest of running backs to work with. If I need to get a tight end or if I need to get a quarterback at that point, I can dip into my assets and kind of move things around a little bit. I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, if push comes to shove, you're really looking at a situation where you need to make a move. You'll have all that ammo. Yeah. I'm the way with you where I'll see all of that and I'll just be like, I got 5 running backs. It'd be a shame if I had 4. I can't move them now. But I hear it. It's a good way to sift through your draft and not just force quarterback and tight end because you already took your starting receivers, running back and flex.
KC Concepcion goes off the board. Jarrett, you and I align on a lot when it comes to I'm more of the line of like, if I have 5 running backs, I'm cool with 4 if I have to be. That being said, I'm always looking for a good deal. I'm always looking to wheel and deal. And if I can get a quarterback for, later in the year, trading away Wan'Dale Robinson, who ends up let's say Wan'Dale Robinson ends up being the wide receiver 1 in Tennessee. Carnell Tate, rookie. Let's say it's like Cam Ward or Cam Ward's just supporting 2 receivers. You can get Wan'Dale for a late quarterback. Why not? Jay goes with KC Concepcion. I like KC Concepcion. I've also heard some things out of Browns camp where it's going to be Boston. So we'll see. And then you go with Aaron Jones. I'm not sure what's left with him, but
keeping the RB1 matrix going.
Yeah. There you go. Late round RB1s. Just, you're taking your chances. You're seeing what's there. Getting back to you here. Chris Rodriguez goes. Tyler Algier goes. Teams are starting to take their second quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes is off the board. Bo Nix and Brock Purdy. So now we're kind of getting into the messy.
Forcing me into taking my quarterback that I don't want to take, but he's my guy. And I have no issue taking it here in round 11 at a 12 man. I'll be the guy that has to believe in him. Everyone's taking 2. Give me Kyler Murray. Give me
there we go.
I was hoping maybe Jefferson was gonna fall back in like a weird way round 2, and I could be able to pair Kyler and Jettos, but obviously that would not happen. But
or even Kyler and Addison. I think Kyler and Addison are a fine stack too.
Baby stack.
Yeah, Kyler. What are we what are people missing on Kyler Murray? What am I missing on Kyler Murray? To me, Kyler Murray is there is a very clear path for him to be a top 10 quarterback in fantasy, top 12 quarterback in fantasy.
Just got to remember the weird Arizona years when he was slinging it up to D-Hop and they were starting off 6-0 and then finishing 6-10, 7-10.
Yeah.
You just got to forget all the nastiness with Kyler, and this is a good offense with great players around him, a great offensive line, and amazing play calling. So I'm excited for Kyler.
Call of Duty doesn't come out until November, so you'll at least get the first half of the season down. All right, so I think I've played this out long enough. This is now we've gotten to a point in the draft where I'm good on Jacoby Myers. I could go Hunter Henry. I think Hunter Henry is a tight end 2 is not a bad situation. So I'll take the guy that I've talked myself into. I like Hunter Henry here. And I think now is the time. Now is the time that I go with a quarterback. I can't wait any longer. I got to have a quarterback.
Wait, am I?
And
do you want 2? You took Herbert round 7.
Oh, I did. I forgot about that. Oh my God! I completely forgot I took Herbert.
Yeah, I kept going. You kept saying it. I was like,
all right. I forgot. Okay, that's on me. Wow. Okay. Lack of sleep, dad stuff.
Good morning, Betty.
Okay. I'll wait on quarterback another round. Good morning. Hello, everyone. 1:00 somewhere. All right. So I took Hunter Henry. Have that.
Yes.
I have my quarterback already. I'll wait on my quarterback too. I cannot believe. I'm so sorry. Embarrassed. I think this is where I'm going to go. I'm going to go and take a shot on a player that I don't like. I should say I do not like this player.
Oh.
That being said, I'm going to take a shot on him, and I'm going to take Xavier Worthy. And here's why. Something has to happen with the Chiefs offense at some point. There has to be a breakthrough. This Chiefs offense cannot continue to just be a slug in this league. It's going to be run first. I think it's going to be majority of Ken Walker. That being said, I think Xavier Worthy has a possible role here that he can carve out. And if it's just we're dealing with another injury to Rashee Rice or an injury to Travis Kelce, I think you're going to see some underneath stuff with him. And that's what I want to see. I want to see him run some underneath stuff, vertical stuff. just expand his route tree a little bit. So if that happens, great, cool. I have a fifth receiver that I could possibly move, or a fifth receiver that's going to be like a great little, trade piece to the Patrick Mahomes owner in the league. If not, you're cutting him. I mean, if not, you're like this. We are at a precipice with Xavier Worthy where if you don't see good play, you're just going to cut him off your fantasy team.
Yeah, everything from here on out. These are shot bench guys. Backup running backs, third string, second or third string receivers.
Can't believe I thought I didn't take a quarterback earlier. I guess that's kind of how Justin Herbert's career has been overshadowed. I'm so used to just not even factoring in that Justin Herbert exists. Oh boy,
let's sit on that one for a second. Wait a minute.
Oh boy, that's going to be a clip. Come back here. Jay goes with a kicker. Jay is bought in on. Okay, so this is usually the rounds where we're getting to the final parts of it. People are going to start taking kickers. People are going to stay. That being said, there is some value built into here, and you're starting to see a lot of people taking receiver late. That has been, if you haven't drafted a defense or a kicker, you've drafted a receiver. Jarrett goes with one receiver here, Rashid Shaheed from the Seattle Seahawks. Again, Deebo Samuel's in here. I took Xavier Worthy. There's just a bunch of receivers in this range where, if you're waiting on receiver, you can go ahead and get one and put you in a decent spot as your fifth receiver.
I'm banking on Cooper Kupp going to a retirement home, and Shaheed's just going to get a bunch of bombs, but added in maybe consistent touchdowns. Shaheed actually, I won't be shocked if we're looking at it at the end of the year and he's sitting wide receiver 25, 26, and we're like, oh, he actually did kind of help me halfway through the year.
It would be nice to see Seattle really start to stretch the field, and utilize Shaheed. That would be music to my heart.
I know he didn't just take a minute to go Kenyon Sadiq round 12. I would yell at him right now.
I just don't see Kenyon Sadiq being fully implemented as a tight end this year, as tight end one. I think the Jets are there's just not enough of the pie. It's again, small pie, small slice, and I just don't think there's enough there for Sadiq to matter in fantasy.
I concur. I mean, I want everything to do with Garrett just because I do think he's going to get a majority of the share over there. But yeah, like you're saying, to bank on is he 21? 20-year-old?
Yeah,
just turned baby-born 21-year-old. So it's tight ends take a little bit to develop. Bad offense. I'm waiting on Sadiq.
It's unfortunate because there were teams that I really liked the idea of Sadiq going to. One of them, and if you want to go back to the mock drafts episodes on 302 Birds podcast or the draft guide, one of the teams I was really hoping would take Kenyon Sadiq was the Los Angeles Rams, just because you trust Sean McVay. And then just think about it. Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, and then you have Sadiq. You can just put him anywhere. Oh my God. That is a fever dream for me in terms of fantasy. What Sadiq could do in that situation. He goes to the worst one. He went to the absolute. I think this past NFL draft, it was all the fun, exciting young players that are coming into the league. They all went to the worst places.
Yeah, it wasn't very polarizing with Jeremiah Love, especially.
Goes to the
Cardinals
going
to the Titans.
Yeah, it's shoot, man. I really would. It would have been a whole lot cooler if you didn't draft that player,
Good for the franchise, but you're messing me up, dude. Come on. What are we?
Come on,
I had expectations.
Yeah, don't do this to me. Don't hurt me. All right. Well, I was hoping Tyler Shuck would get back to me, but he didn't. And that's fine. I think at this point, I'm comfortable taking Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love's going to be a fine quarterback here, and then I'm going to be looking. So
for the record, everyone, Benny knows he's his quarterback too. That's why he's okay taking.
Yes, and so now I'm looking at my fifth running back. Yeah, and I'm gonna take Jonah Coleman. I think this. If you're gonna, I know. I'm sorry.
Could you do this to me? Okay.
I know you were waiting on him.
Yeah.
I think if you're gonna take a shot in someone, again, Denver is one of those teams where all of their weapons are just going to be used in a certain way that I would rather just have the quarterback. So to me, if you don't get Bo Nix, than just take a smaller shot on Denver, because you don't know who's gonna hit or not. And Sean Payton is like, for fantasy football, Sean Payton is like the Antichrist. So to me, like Jonah Coleman's a great little like, okay, let's just see what happens with him. And if he doesn't pan out, you cut him. All right, you're cutting your 14th round pick. Boo-hoo.
Yeah, I'm right there with it. Coleman, it's an interesting one. It's definitely not one that you're like sitting there going when you draft him week 1. Oh my God, I knew he was going to go off for 120. There's a solid chance he doesn't see the field till like week 4, week 5. Kind of like what we were saying earlier with Bashal Tutin. If Dobbins gets hurt or if Dobbins just doesn't have it, Jonah Coleman very much could. It could be an R.J. Harvey, Jonah Coleman immediately if they don't like what they see in J.K.
Yeah, because R.J. Harvey, I don't know what it was for me last year. I think someone took R.J. Harvey before I was going to get him, but I was like all gassed up on R.J. Harvey, and thank God I didn't get a chance to take him, because that would have devastated me. But I don't know who. I think people have a tendency to look at coaches and just kind of apply like, oh, they did this before, so naturally they're gonna do this again. And I don't think that's always the case for a lot of coaches. I don't think there's going to be another Michael Thomas for the Denver Broncos.
And we do that a lot more than we think. We still try and do it with Kansas City, assuming that not that Kenneth Walker isn't like that, but it's like every other running back after Kareem Hunt, he's got to be the guy. He's the dude. We're just so it happened before, it's gonna happen again. We just so enamored of it.
There might people are trying to say, oh well, they're going to use this guy like a Taysom Hill, or they're going to use this guy like a Michael Thomas, or use this guy like an Alvin Kamara. I don't think the Saints Sean Payton is the Sean Payton for the Broncos. I just don't think that guy exists anymore. I think he's completely changed his system style to something different. And right now, I think the reason why Sean Payton isn't the Saints Sean Payton is because Bo Nix is not Drew Brees. Bo Nix is accurate, but Bo Nix is also very mobile. So why would you want Bo Nix to become Drew Brees?
Changes everything, right?
Yeah, you want Bo Nix to be Bo Nix. You want to see what happens when you fully develop this guy.
And that's the problem with all this. It's like we create such a stigma, and we want to, all right, we saw this, it's going to happen again. But to what you're saying right now, the general managers and coaches draft these guys where they take them today, right now, not for we think he looks like Alvin Kamara. No, we know we can use him in this role on this team in this situation. Exactly.
Winding down this draft. This is a lot of fun, guys. I know this went a little bit longer than we thought. But mock drafts are fun. They're fun to do live with people. And this was a lot of fun. We saw whatever's happening with Team 10. Good luck. Team 10 has 4 running backs they took after the 12th round. They went 4 running backs. So whatever is happening with Team 10, good luck. But these are great ways to kind of prepare yourself, because you never know what's going to happen in your normal mock draft. And you walk into your league draft, you think you know everything, and then all of a sudden someone takes a defense in the 7th round, and congratulations, we're off to the races in what promises to be a wild draft. But that'll do it for us here. Jay, thank you so much for joining us on the show. I'm excited to get University of Delaware football season started. Can't wait to hear what your recaps are from this past weekend of preseason football with the Ravens and Eagles. And of course, everyone can check out the Johnny's Report if you like St. John's men's basketball. And if you like Penn State football, the Phillies, Flyers, Sixers, 610 podcast. And then obviously Orioles and Ravens, a Charm City Sports podcast. Jay, great guest, man. You'll be on. Hopefully you'll be on again in the future, but appreciate you jumping on the show today.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys, for having me. Looking forward to University of Delaware football season. That's why I took Joe Flacco last round there. So I didn't know if you guys saw that, but yeah, I was literally scrolling through.
We're sitting here still trying, and he's going, Flacco.
But all right, guys. Thanks so much for having me, boys.
Thank you, Jay. Jarrett, it's been great. We will talk to you again this upcoming Tuesday for the next episode of 1 O'Clock Somewhere. Everyone have a great Sunday and take care.
It's 1 O'Clock Somewhere, a fantasy football podcast. With Jarrett, and Benny. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time. It's 1 o'clock somewhere, a fantasy football podcast.